So I wasn't able to go over this enough in class because we ran out of time. So I want to show you a couple of things to do with downloading video and extracting the audio from it, editing it a little bit. All right, so first up, I actually want to show you when you go to archive.org um, and you go to a particular piece of video or audio, it should say right here under the name of it and who it's by. It'll say when it was published and then usage. That's what you're looking for. It can either say public domain, Creative Commons. It can. There's a lot of different things it might say. I'm in the Prelinger archive section of this, which has I shall generously call it antiquated material, but it's all videos and things from American history. It's not pretty, but it can be very interesting to work with. And when you want this, you can watch it up here. But in order to download it, there's a bunch of different types of files. MPEG 4 is what's going to work best for us. And you can't just click on it, because if you click on it, it'll try to open it in your browser, which does not help you exactly. So you have to right click and say save link as, and then it'll, you can see I already saved it before. You can rename it if you need to. You hit save and it'll download it properly into a file that you can use. Alright, so let's say you found your video file and you just want the audio because you do not want to bring video into Flash, where that's just more trouble than it's worth. So, in order to get it into Audition, in order to just take the audio out, you can go File, Import File, and then I have to remember where I put it, which is going to prove interesting. It's here, and I believe it was this class. Nope. Alright, this is why you should stay organized so you can find files. So I found the video file and I hit open. And it's going to take a second to process this because it wasn't coming in quite the way Audition wants it. And right now this is the whole wave format for the audio. It's kind of ignoring the video. And what we can do now is simply say File, Export, File, and it's going to export that audio. You can call it duck and cover because that's what it is. And the only thing you really need to change are the file name and the location. And it's going into my downloads folder. No, it's not. It's going to my documents folder. You don't want it there. There we go. Go to my college folder. I say save. The default, the WAV file, that should work out fine. If you're having trouble with WAV files for whatever reason, you can always drop this down and change it to MP3. WAV files are a better file format. Alright, so we hit OK. Done. And so now there's a WAV file sitting somewhere, which if I file, import, file, I believe I put it, yes, here. And you can see there's actually now two different little audio bits. One is just the extracted audio existing in here, and the other is the actual separate WAV file that I made. So let's say you've got audio, and it could have come from a video, it could come from just plain audio, it could come from wherever. But it's really long. This one I think is 9 minutes long. That's way too long for this project. And you need to shrink it down. And what you want to do is you don't want to just take the first 30 seconds. You actually want to take like a section out of the middle. You really don't want to use Flash for that. So in Audition, I'm going to click multi-track, which is basically going to create a project that I'm working on. Right? Where is this saving? Oh, it's saving to my Audition folder. That's fine. And most of the defaults should be fine. You just change the name and change where it's saving it. It's going to save it by default to your Audition folder, which is buried pretty deep in the computer. I would change it, you guys, to your flash drive or wherever you're working off of. Hit OK. There we go. All right. So in this project section right here, which is basically your library, it's your assets, it's your stuff that is in this particular project. There's the original video. There's the audio that Audition kind of took out and just kind of stuck within itself to keep there. This SCSX file, that's this. That's the mixed down multi-track sort of session that it's created. And then this wave is the actual separate wave file that I want to work with. And I'm going to take that wave file, I'm going to put it right here. I'm just going to put it in the first track. It's going to give me a message about how my session doesn't match the sample rate, so they're going to make a copy of my file. That's fine. The audio fidelity on this old video isn't really such that that's going to make much of a difference. It also made the track longer, so it could take the whole audio. Now, let's say I want to have my audio start here and end here. I'm being arbitrary, I haven't really listened to this. What I can do is I can take up here at the top, there's a pointer tool, that's your general move tool, and then there's this razor tool. If I take that and I hover over this area, I can split this into two different pieces along that where I was just hovering. And I can get rid of this first part. I can just delete it because I don't need it because it's too much. And you're going to find that Audition kind of snaps things into place pretty easily. Alright, so then I'm going to grab the razor again and I'm going to cut it here. It's a little long. You know, I'll give myself a little bit more to work with in Flash than I think I need because changing that's pretty easy. And I'm just going to delete that section right there. And now I can zoom into this because this is way too small to look at. You can see your timeline right here. I can zoom in to timeline. And I want the arrows going horizontally, right? So now you can actually start to see, you know, the starts and stops of this. Now let's say I was slightly wrong. Let's say, like, oh no, I needed this to go a little bit further. You know, I listened to it and it doesn't sound right because it clips off in the middle of a sentence. I clipped it at the wrong part. Well, all you have to do is hover over the edge of the track, and you see your cursor changes from, if it's on the track, it's this pointer. If it's off the track, it's this pointer. But if you're hovering right in the middle, you get these two arrows and like a bracket. You can expand this out. Or you can get rid of this part, right? And it's gonna, it seems like it's snapping to a particular second. And I can come to this end and I can trim this in a little bit. So it's going to start with him talking pretty quickly. And then the talking will end. Alright, so that's how you would kind of trim up and cut up a piece of audio for use in Flash. You can also, if you want to, manipulate the volume in here. If you click on this yellow line, it creates an envelope point, and then you click again here, and you pull down on the second one, and that'll make the audio fade down rather than just stopping. Just stopping, and I'm going the wrong way. Just stopping is not usually a very good idea. It doesn't, you know, doesn't work so well. It can the audio can kind of pop, even if he's done talking. Like you can see, there's no voice where I'm fading it. There's still maybe background noises. So it's not a bad idea to have your audio fade out. It's also not a bad idea to have your audio fade in. I mean, I can go to the end here. I click once where I want it to finally end up at the right volume, and once at the beginning, and have it fade out. You can do this fade in and fade out in Flash too. You don't have to do it in both places. If you do it one place, you don't have to do it in the other place. But I wouldn't get into too much more audio mixing than that unless you already know what you're doing. Alright, so I've completed that, but now I need this file. So we're going to go File, Export, but not File, because we're not exporting just one single file. We're exporting this right here. And what it's technically called is a multi-track mixdown. What that means is, this is the multi-track, right? There are multiple tracks. And a mixdown is where you take all your multiple tracks and squash them together into one file, basically. And then, whoops. Multi-track mixdown. And then entire session, which seems silly. It's only one clip, but that's how it is. So it calls it whatever it was called, _ mixdown, so you'll never, you know, accidentally overwrite your other files, which is good. It's putting it in my documents folder, which is slightly strange because it's putting the session in my Audition folder. I'm going to move it to my school folder. And again, sticking with waves, if for some reason it doesn't work, you can switch to MP3. And then we hit OK. And that was it. And it's done. And it should, if I bring up my folders, No, no. And there it is. When you do any kind of exporting from Audition, see how there's two files for each one? There's a PKF and a WAV file. Notice which one is larger. This one's 191 megabytes. This one's 374 kilobytes. This one's 16 megs. This one's not even 1 meg, right? The .wav file is the one you need to keep. If you have any doubts, keep both files, right? But you can't get rid of the .wav file. This .pkf, it's useless to you. You can see there's no time, right? Because it's not an audio clip, so it's not going to be usable. All right, so when in doubt, save both of them, but the only thing you're going to be able to import into Flash is a WAV file. All right, so, and it's the larger file. WAV files, I mean, this one's 9 minutes long, that's why it's 200 megs. This one is only 30 seconds long, and it's 16 megs. WAV files are no joke. They're not going to be very small. All right, and then just to review how to import audio into Flash, we're going to open up Flash. I do heavily recommend, even if you're using just the start of the file, if it's anything longer than a couple minutes, you really need to edit it down before you bring it into Flash. If you bring in a full, like 10-minute audio file into Flash, it's gonna be a very large file, and for no reason, because you're not using the whole audio file. All right. So when you're getting started on this, first of all, I don't care what size you use, but it better not be 550 by 400. But when you import the sound, you say File, Import, Import to Library, preparing to import, and I find, okay, you'll see Flash only even lets you get the waves. It doesn't even let you see the other files. So you say Open, and it's going to show up in your library, not over here. Now, you may already have some layers in here because of where you're working. You really need to have a separate layer for audio. Can't stress this enough. It's so hard to select the audio when there's other crap on the layer. So you're really just better off only selecting the audio, or only having audio on that layer. And how this works is you select the layer you want to put the audio on. In this case, I titled it Audio. And I'm going to drag this, but I can't drag it up here. They won't let you put it in the timeline. You have to put it down here on the stage. Even though if I expand this timeline out by adding a frame, you can see the audio. It shows up in the timeline as a wave format, but you can't actually like put the audio in the timeline. It's a little weird. Now, in order to hear the entire audio track, I have to expand this out to however many seconds the audio track is. Oh, I'm only at 14 seconds, so let me keep going. I think it's about 40 seconds long is what I exported. Huh. That just keeps going. Oh, because I'm not at 40 seconds. I'm just going to keep dragging this out here until I get to... It actually might say in here under properties. Let's find out. It does not. That's a shame. It should tell you how long it... Oh, 43.1 seconds. I am so close to having enough frames. There it is. So when you get to the end of the waveform, when it's like at the end of the song, you'll just see it right here. It'll just stop. It's not going to repeat. Oh, I put a keyframe there. We don't want a keyframe. Because it will repeat. If you put a keyframe somewhere, whoops, we won't now. But if you have a keyframe like starting over here, it will start to repeat the audio, or at least it could. So you gotta be careful of that. Let me see. If you want to edit anything with the audio, you click on that layer, and it'll show up here. If you had more than one audio track, you could select it. By default, depending on the computer you're working on, it may default the sync to event. You need to have it on stream. For this project, it must be set to stream. Otherwise, things are not going to sync up properly and you're going to have a problem. Alright, so hopefully this helps you guys out. And if you have any questions, just email me.